Well, honestly, I just want to talk to you, honestly.
Okay,
All right.
not a problem.
My first question was like, how are you today?
I'm doing good, man. Believe
Yeah?
it or not, doing good. Even through the rain.
Yeah. It's like,
Every day's a good day.
yeah, it's always a struggle. Like,
Yes,
but you always get there at the end of the day.
absolutely.
For sure. All right. So can you just give me like a brief description of who you are?
Tony Crutchfield Sr., born and raised in Pasadena, California. Uh, played at, grew up in sports in the city of Pasadena. Played Little League, youth football. Ended up going to Muir High School in Pasadena on a two-time AF championship team. And then got a scholarship offer to go to Brigham Young. So played at BYU for 3 years as a starter. And then signed a free agent contract with the Detroit Lions in 1991. And so did that. I was there for a year. Ended up coming home. A lot of people don't know I played with the Shreveport Pirates in CFL for a year, and did that, and just realized I wanted to coach. And right at 22, 23 years old, I went to Muir High School, back to my alma mater, and began coaching. Within 2 years there, I became the head coach. So I was a young head coach over there with an abundance of athletes, and had some success. I had a few NFL guys, a lot of college guys, and learned a lot about it. From there, all the while I was working at a boys' home while I was doing my first couple years at Muir, and then took a claims adjuster job with State Farm Insurance while being head coach at Muir. And then in '99, I decided to go coach college football at the University of Redlands, where I coached the secondary there. My first year there, I got picked up at the University of Idaho, where I coached the secondary with the Vandals for 2 years. And then had an opportunity to go to New Mexico State. I was going to do a GA with my offensive coordinator, Norm Chow, at USC. I had a wife and 2 kids, and just decided I need to get back into corporate America, so chose that route. And got back into high school football, and coached at Doherty High School. From Doherty High School, went to Summit. And from Summit, coached Ayala High School track for 2 years. And then there, Roosevelt for about 5. And then had a young son, Taj, that was growing up, and I finally got a chance after 20, 22 years of coaching everybody else's kids. I got a chance to coach my son with youth football, so I stepped down with high school football then, coached youth football until he is now at Centennial High School as a sophomore. So I've been a sprint coach there for the last 2 years, trying to develop him. Along the way at each of my stops, track has been very important for all my athletes, and me myself. I was going to say I ran track at Muir, but I was forced to run track. But it was the greatest decision I made with Coach Turner and Brownfield to get me on that track, because without speed, it's hard to produce and accelerate different levels if you can't run. So it's one of the recipes that I've learned. Everywhere that I've coached at, I've kind of instituted that as part of my philosophy, whether it was at Summit, Roosevelt already had a great track program, to now at Centennial. I think last year we had about 20 kids. Now we're upwards of 130. So with the athletes we have there, if they can stay the course, I think we'll be a very fast football team next year, and I think we'll have some success in track this year. So looking forward to getting this season going.
For sure.
So that's me in a nutshell.
Very, very good nutshell. Great story. Going back to like the whole growing up in Pasadena thing, what was it like early childhood life? Like specifically, I think it's very important with like the whole parents and the dynamic.
Yep.
And more specifically, how were you raised like by your father? Because I think he was the one that would very much instilled a lot of your mindset and beliefs nowadays.
Yep.
And what was that like growing up with him, and like how that shows who you are today in your mindset and your beliefs?
I think it's a great question, man. I don't talk about my dad as much as I probably should. One of the things I always highlight is that, you hear me talk in other forums. I say my dad was in college when I was growing up. My dad was actually in the penitentiary. And when he would come home from time to time, it was very tough on me. And as a young age, you develop resentment because you don't understand, why this guy's not all around. But when he is around, he's tough on me. So I went through years of trying to understand his modus operandi, and I recall years later being able to look back and appreciate what he done with me. So when he was there, he was strict on me, he was tough on me, and sometimes as a child you don't understand why your dad is the way he is with you. But I know I couldn't be the man I am today without some of his drive and some of the things that at that time, ticked me off. But I look back now and go, I needed him to be tough on me. So most of the rearing of me and my sister came from my mom, and she did a great job, just showing us the resiliency, the work ethic, the spiritual presence, and we adopted Ricky Evans, who came out. We adopted him when he was, I think, 12, and Ricky played at USC, played with Washington Redskins, played with me at Muir, and I got a stepbrother, Vincent Phillips, that was probably would have been a starting quarterback for 3 Rose Bowls between '89 and '91, but he signed a contract with the Yankees and went with the Yankees. So I had a household full of athletes. All 3 of us are in the Hall of Fame of John Muir High School. And so we kind of policed each other, man. I had a great group of friends that I think 6 or 7 of us made it to the professional level. Probably 15 or 16 went to Division I. So, we had a group that really drove themselves and understood what it took to be different. And a lot of times, even in today's era, there's so many cliques that go on with the kids are so challenged by their peers to try things and do things. We just kind of had our own mindset and knew what we wanted to do and accomplish out of life, so we kind of pushed each other, along with, the guys in the northwest side of Pasadena that wouldn't allow me to get in trouble. Some of the great friends I've had from, Kasim McCullough, and I got a chance to, his dad was instrumental in helping me in my youth football when my dad was locked up. And then their dad passed, and I picked up his 2 younger brothers, Shahid and Sultan. Everybody knows Sultan is the fastest football player ever to play at SC. But as God would have it, I would get a chance to help them 2 young men, mature and become successful men as their dad with me. And so it was a community of Pasadena that wouldn't allow me to stray off course, that knew that I had a gift from Little League Baseball to youth football. Just me learning work ethic and being around great people. You oftentimes hear that you can determine a kid's success by the group he's around. I was truly a product of that. And then having the older, dudes in the community that wouldn't allow me, Crutch, what you doing over here? This is about to go down. You need to go home, man. This ain't the place for you. Here's a couple dollars. Don't be out on the street hustling. They looked out for me. So when I look back on it, without the city of Pasadena and Altadena, I couldn't be. I played baseball in Altadena and football in Pasadena, which is right near each other, like Corona and Norco. Mm-hmm. And so just having love from that community with helping me, knowing my father and my uncles were well known in both cities. And so it was always a collective group that helped push me and guide me in the right way. And if I was ever off course, I had people, that would tell me. And at that time, when you heard an adult say something that you shouldn't be doing, we didn't talk back. We just listened and kept marching and got out of their way. And, went there and did what you're supposed to do. So, Pops wasn't there often, but the times he was there, it was impactful for me. And like I said, when you're young, you don't understand why, and you think your dad is just being tough on you for no reason. So it's when I became a man and I started rearing my own son, I understand why he was doing what he was doing. And so the time he was there was valuable to me to develop, who I am as a man and what I truly stand for, and the integrity it takes to be a father and a husband and a guy that's trying to be a pillar in the community. You got to have some integrity about yourself. And so learning those principles and watching my uncles and, like I say, the community around me, man, I was blessed with a great situation. I remember adults would say to me, I'm going to be unsuccessful because my father and my uncles are in jail. But I had a bigger group that would say, "Little Tony, you're going to be successful. You're one of God's favorites. You got to believe that and go get it." And I've always had that dream and wasn't going to let nobody tarnish that dream. And so that's kind of me, imposing my will, if you will, on a situation with my beliefs and my work ethic. And so I try to give that to you guys. I try to give that to the young kids about how important it is to dream, because, it all starts with a dream that you have, with what I can do and how I can get there. And if I don't believe in myself, it's never going to happen. So it all starts with that dream and that confidence that I can attain anything that I want to. And I just made my mind up at a young age, I'm going to be a pro something. Whether it's going to be baseball, football, this is what I'm going to do, And so, dreams are real. No matter where you come from, I tell kids all the time, it's not where you start. When we get into this world, we don't make a decision who mom or dad is. We don't make a decision on our wealth. We don't make a decision on our skin color, our race, the religion we study. We were born into these things. It's what we do with those things, and we all got that divinity in us that tells us right, wrong, or indifferent, and we got to trust that, and we got to honor that, and then at some point we got to make a decision on what we want to become and what we want to do. And so I've always just carried that and tried to profess that with the kids that I'm around. And so I feel like it's my duty to give back what was given to me, and so that's why a lot of things I do, I don't charge kids. You know me. You come with me, I'll be at this place, let's get it on. Coach, how much I owe you? Just hard work, that's all I ask. Come out here and work hard, and let's be the best you that you can be. And that's kind of who Coach Crutch is.
For sure, appreciate that. And like, growing up in Pasadena, right, with the whole community and everything, eventually when you got to high school football, like, what was the culture like at that time? Because
yeah.
I feel like it's very different from
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it was, and I'm gonna go two places on this. First off, I went to Muir as a celebrated youth football player, and I thought I could just walk up on campus and be the guy. I was at a historic program where we've always turned out college guys and NFL guys. It was not uncommon. It's the first place, scouts come when they hit the San Gabriel Valley. So having John Robinson and the likes come watch me in youth football, I thought, and I knew I was special at it, and the work ethic is what I didn't have. I expected them to give me a starting job. So going to Muir and being under Coach Brownfield, Coach Turner, and Coach Paul, and Coach Ward, they made me work for everything that I wanted, and they didn't give me anything. And I had to go through a process of changing my mentality that high school is a new start, and it's a new arena, and what I did in youth football growing up didn't matter anymore. And so we weren't in a situation like you guys are in today where you can kind of self-market yourself, and bouncing around from program to program was uncommon back then. You had to kind of be gritty and understand what it took to be successful in your equation versus, going out and playing at another school or playing at another park, if you will. We had to earn it where we're at. And so being around a lot of great athletes, you kind of have to raise your level to play. So by the time I was a sophomore, there was a time when I was a freshman, believe it or not, I was going to quit sports and be a break dancer. Me and my best friend at that time, Scotty Blades, were in fashion shows, break dancing, just making a little side money, and said, man, I don't need any of this. I'm just going to break dance, and not knowing you got to look down the road. But, thankfully, I didn't stop playing sports, and I went out there and challenged myself. I tried to quit as a sophomore. I remember my mom came home from work, and she said, "Little Tony, what you doing here?" I said, "Oh, Mom, I'm done. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna go to Blair next season." She said, "What you mean you're gonna go to Blair next season?" I said, "I quit, man. Them folks up there crazy. They got me running. I'm in every drill. I'm a tackling dummy. Playing offense today, defense tomorrow. I ain't doing all that. No, you gonna do all that. Get your stuff." I said, "Mom, what you mean? You can't make me play football." She said, "Why can't I? You better get your stuff. We're going back to practice." So I remember walking down that field. And I was hoping, because I was asleep. Woke up thinking practice is going to be halfway over. So when I get there, I ain't got to do nothing. I get to the school, Louise, she dropped me off, and walk down there and talk to the coaches. I'm embarrassed. And I look, they just coming out of the weight room. So I'm like, dog, I got a whole practice. So she told the coaches what was going on, that I wasn't allowed to quit, and forced my hand. And I decided to stay at Muir and become who I became. But I had to earn it, and they didn't give me anything. And I learned about the fight, and it's something that I was able to take to BYU and understand that each level you get to, you got to reset that button, because anything you did prior to that don't matter. You see these 2 stars and 3 stars be dominant in college football, and you see guys that are high draft picks not be as dominant in the National Football League, because at the end of the day, at each level you restart and you reset. Now you may get a lot of reps early because of your stars, but them same reps you won't get late because of the lack of competitiveness and drive that you've had in you. So a lot of times these kids are self-promoted on these 7-on-7 teams. There's a lot of bargaining that goes on with getting scholarship offers, and people put a lot of credence in that. And that's one thing I try to tell my group. At the end of the day, the coaches will come find you if you can go. If you're a dog, they'll come find you. We need to be fast. We need to be competitive. We need to be tough, and we need to earn it. We need to look for opportunities and opponents to show people that guy's a 5-star. Let's go get him. Let's see what he's made of, and let's see what we made of. We got to go back to the drawing board, or that's a great job. Now, where's the next one at? So we look for the opportunity and not begging for some. I've never called a coach. I got 8 guys in the National Football League right now. Not one of those guys have ever called a coach and say, "Hey man, I need you to offer my kid." No, come check my kid out. I got one. And most of these guys know if I tell them I got a guy, it's because I got a lot of confidence and I stamped this guy. He's been through the grind. He's been through the trenches. He's been with us at Mount Sac. I know his level of toughness, and he just needs the opportunity. And so we look for the opportunity. I don't put a lot of credence on stars. Like I say, I've seen a lot of bargaining that go down with kids getting stars. I've seen kids get, Pac-5, Oklahoma, USC, offers that they've never played down high school football. So I can't put a lot into that when I see those things. I say, man, we got to get on the field. Let's get in the lab and get better. And when we see that kid and they think he's a 5-star kid with the offers, well, let's see what we got. And if that kid's a 5-star, then that makes us, in that same universe, if you will. And so I'm on my guys about earning it. And I think that's the difference between today's football and the football when I grew up. It was not a lot of media's hype. You didn't have the YouTube and the Facebook and the TikTok and all that, things that market yourself. I can take a clip out of a game and show you this in slow motion and put some great music to it, and you think I'm the guy. What happened to those other 67 plays, when you got dogged? So that one clip went viral, but that ain't truly who you are. That's a snapshot of one 7-second play, but you got 67 other plays. Don't send me the highlights, send me the film. Let me see you ball. Let me see when you get tired, what stands up in you. Let me see your character. Let me see you get beaten, how you respond. Those are the things that I look for out of my guys. I want to see if you're battle tested, So that's one thing that's great. And, being in the place I am at now, it's a lot of you guys that have the winning mentality already. It's just the discipline and the structure that I've been able to help create that I think is going to put us in a position where a lot of these guys are going to be successful. One of the best groups I've been around, and I've been around some really, really quality football teams and track teams. This group here has got a chance to be different.
Okay. Yep. You said something like about battle hardened, battle tested, and discipline. And when I heard that, I just thought that's so much like life, because now that as I'm getting older, it's like life it's not easy. It's way less controlled than football.
Absolutely.
It's gonna throw you around. Can you explain why you think this way, and why do you think people so many nowadays are struggling, and depression is very high.
Absolutely.
Suicide rates are all-time high.
Yeah, and I think I remember Taj was about junior micro. We're coming from practice, and I would protect my guy's name, but I had one of my former athletes. Again, I took over the head coach at 23 years old. So some of the seniors were close to me in age, if you will. And one of the things I learned when you go to a place like Brigham Young, and you're different in terms of, I went from classrooms at Muir, where I was one of 30 black kids in the class, to a class or a session at BYU where I'm the only black in a class of 300. And so, you kind of learn you have to embrace the challenge, and even if sometimes you feel insecurities based on innate things you feel that make you either want to bow out or you got to stand up and you got to fight. And so one thing that my coaches have always given me is the understanding of how football is a small microcosm of life. As like it's track, I hated track growing up. I didn't want to run it. I thought them guys weren't tough until you actually get out there and you jump in that 400 and you jump in the 800 and you understand what kind of pain jumps on you. You understand that, in football, I can be tired and take a play off and take 2 plays off and get my breath back. I can compete. Track and field, they ain't no take no play off. It's you against that stopwatch, and it's you between those lines, and you ain't got a helmet on to hide behind. So you learn the resiliency of getting out there competitive each day and fighting against Father Time when you're bad days. And in football, on bad days, sometimes we can kind of hide. And so that's why the two I've combined to when I take my football players and put them in track, now I got the intimate setting of you without your helmet on. I can critique you in your race. I can tell you why you failed. I can make you get to this hill and watch you fight fatigue, get you into that room of frustration, confusion, if you will, or where you making that decision, either I'm going to quit today or I'm going to embrace this pain and I'm going to go through it. And that's that life piece of either I'm going to quit today or I'm going to embrace this pain and I'm going to go through it. The more we can rep that as young athletes, when life does hit you with that curveball and does knock you down, because it is, you've been built to understand what it takes to get up. So that kid called, his wife had kicked him out of the house. He was living in his car. He was crying. He was lost. He was confused. And I just pointedly said, hey, man, you remember them days when we was running the hill? Yeah, coach. You remember them days we do them 220 breakdowns in football? You remember me telling you how hard life was going to be? And right now we training for the game of life. Son, you're in the game of life. So you got 2 decisions. Either you can quit and bow out because you've succumbed to the adversity that you're facing, or you can stand up and fight and go get your family back and earn what's yours. Because both decisions belong to you, and you got to be able to live with one of them. So make the decision that you're comfortable with. I said, we train for these moments. It wasn't about the track meet. It wasn't about the football. It was about those tools getting you ready to make this fight in life, because life is not fair. Life is going to take your loved ones before you know they're going to go. Life is going to have you somewhere unemployed sometimes. It's going to have your wife or your husband cheating on you. You're going to come home sometimes and your refrigerator ain't going to have nothing in it. You can't feed your kids and they hungry, your light's not on, you don't have internet. What do? Do you bow out and quit? Or do you find a way to say, God, give me one more chance, give me one more day, and I'll find a way to get up. I'll find a way to win for my family, for myself. And to me, that's what this whole thing's about. I think sometimes, kids get into a rut and say, why me? Why me? How this happened to me? Poor little Johnny, as opposed to saying, why not me? I'm built for this. We went through this. I'm waiting on this moment. Come on, life, I got something for you. You may win today, but I'll get up. I'll get up off this canvas, and I'll make myself better prepared for the next day. And I'm going to eventually keep fighting until I win. And it's about having that competitive nature and that competitive spirit to fight till you win. And at the end of the day, we all own those decisions. We got the free agency to choose whether we quit or whether we battle. I try to train my guys to battle, because that's what life is. That's what being a father is. That's what being a leader is it's a battle. And you don't always feel like accepting the challenge, but the Warriors do, because inside I know I'm built for this and I can handle this. And so the more of my guys I can get to bleed out, I think the better we are spreading that same word, around the community and around our lives and around our cities, that we are what we are because of what we do, not because we let life determine our circumstances. I got an opportunity because I got an opportunity, not because of my mom, because of my dad, and talking about the values it takes for me to be successful. What am I willing to do? I got the same dream as this kid in Florida, this kid in Texas, this kid in San Diego, this kid in Michigan. We all got the same dream. How bad you want it? I know I want it worse than he do. I know it's times when he was at home, or I know my partner was at the party, I was out training. I'm built for this. So when I get in that moment and I look you in your eye, I know I'm built for this moment. You haven't prepared like I have. I earned the right to be a champion. Same thing we go with life. I've earned the right because this is what I've done. This is how I prepared. This is where my mindset is. This is how I'm going to rear my children. This is how I'm going to talk to my wife. These are the things that are of value to me. Those are the things I think make us men that can go out and make a difference in our societies, our communities, and our families as coaches and as leaders. I think sometimes we as leaders fail to recognize the opportunity we have to groom young people to be better people. We're oftentimes afraid of the moment. When I'm at practice, I'm looking for a weak spot. I'm not looking for you to get through there. Oh, that's a great time, man. You did a great. No. I'm looking at man. You backed off this race. You could have went past him. Why? Yeah, I know your time was a little better today, but you could have went past him. You could have been 2 seconds better. I got to find ways to make you understand what it takes to be great, and I got to keep the gas pedal down. I've got to look for ways to critique you as a person so that I give you something when that day comes. You can harken back to this voice and go, Coach Crutch told me I got to get up and fight. He told me it was going to be a tough day. He told me I was going to walk into the job and it was going to let me go one day. And I got to walk back into this world, and I got to somehow go to my wife and kids and say, I don't have a job. I can't bring home no money no more. So again, as men, what do? We quit. As a woman, what do? Go out with my family. I don't take care of my kids now because this job wouldn't give me an opportunity. No, I go find another one. And if that one don't work, I go find another one. And I got to keep fighting. It's a battle because eventually I'm going to get to that finish line. And so that's kind of what I try to profess as a coach, is that if I can create that winning mentality, if I can seize that moment at practice, game time, and when life gets here, it's going to be a little easier for you because you've practiced in that moment to understand, how do I make a good decision about winning and about being successful when I get to that moment? Well, we've rehearsed that moment time and time again at practice. Coaches take you to the brink of exhaustion and then push you past it when you didn't think you can. That's what life is. We all got to cross the bear. We all got things we got to overcome. We got to know and understand God wouldn't put more on us than we can bear. And if I can own that, no matter what comes, I know I'm built for it because I understand that God wouldn't put more in me than I can bear. So whatever the situation, whatever the task, bring it. I got something for you. I'm ready for this. I'm built for this. And that's what I try to instill in my kids so that when that time comes, because it's coming. And it ain't coming when you think it is. It's going to hit you suddenly when you're at your greatest moment. I'm feeling good about it. I got the bomb job. My wife is great. All of a sudden, them tables turn in the blink of an eye. Are you ready? Are you ready? And that's what I'm trying to get them ready for that.
For sure. I get that.
Yeah.
So after like the whole high school thing, you went to BYU.
Yep.
And I saw that you had offers from USC,
Yep.
Nebraska, all those schools. can you explain like what the recruitment process like was
Absolutely.
for you, and like why you chose BYU
Yep.
over USC to go with like Ricky or
Yeah, absolutely.
other players?
It's gonna be a funny story. Me and my best friend throughout high school was a guy named Marcus Robinson. Marcus was highly recruited, and I was telling Tate and these guys this other day, Marcus ran the 800 meters and the 300-meter hurdles in both relays at Muir. Marcus played 12 years in the National Football League, and our goal throughout high school was to play high school ball together. So at the time, we took Hawaii, we took Arizona, we took Washington State, we took BYU, and our last trip was San Diego State. Me and Marcus had already made a decision. We wanted to stay close to home, so we wanted to go to San Diego State. SC later came back on a Monday of the Wednesday signing date and offered me a scholarship, and I'll get to that later on. But we're going to San Diego State, man. This is what we're going to do. So the Friday of our visit, they called me in the morning and say, hey, we're not going to recruit you. We're moving on elsewhere. We're going to take a running back named Tommy Booker, who was a heck of a football player out of San Diego, but I didn't want to play running back anyway. But okay, if that's what y'all want to do, cool. I've already gone to BYU. But they chose to take another running back because there was a kid who ran me down. I had a 70-yard run against Arcadia. A white kid named Steve Provenzano came and chased me. The year before, he caught Marcus, my best friend, on an 80-yard kickoff return. No one did their homework. Steve Provenzano was a 10-4 sprinter. He could run. They looked at him and said, "There's this white kid chasing you down. You can't be that fast." This is top 4 or 5 sprinters in the state. San Diego State fell off. And so at that point, I said, I got to make a decision now on a program, and more so a man that I know I can respect. Not to disrespect any other coaches that recruited me, because there were some great men, but the guy of guys was Lavelle Edwards. The stoicness, the wisdom, the leadership. He was a man of honor, a man of integrity, one of the greatest men that I've ever met, and just cannot tell you how going to BYU impacted my life for a lot of reasons. It drove me spiritually, and it drove my desire to get out into communities where I know there wasn't a lot of black presence, to get out to kids that would maybe be taught racism, to see a real African American and what that looks like and what that feels like. I would go to class with white kids who had never seen a black kid before. All they had seen was a black kid on the Cosby shows. And so, going to that arena and learning about the value of a man, not based on we grew up in the same city, we grew up in the same hood, we understand, the urban life, but what does this man do, and what is the character of that man that draws me to want to be around guys like this? And it goes back to that circle you create, and that circle you keep determines where you want to go. Being around Coach Edwards and watch him live those values, watch him live those leadership tenets. If I used to walk by his office every day going to class, and he would always know when I was off. And he'd call me back, "Hey, Tony, come on in here, son. I want to talk to you about how you doing today." And he'd get me back grounded. And so, just making that decision and praying on it and just saying, SC came in on Monday. They chose to come after me and Marcus Monday, signing dates that first Wednesday in February. They're in the same living room recruiting my brother the whole 4 or 5 months. And my brother's always had a scholarship. Both my brothers signed to go to USC, Vince Phillips or Ricky Irvins. Monday, coach calls and said, "Hey, Crutch, I got a scholarship offer for you. I didn't know if you'd be interested." Right? "Come on, man, it's USC. What you mean? I didn't know if I was interested." I said, "No, I'm good. BYU been recruiting me the whole time. I'm going with Coach Edwards," And so at my sophomore year, I thought about transferring and going back to SC. I had a chance to go out there and work out with my brother. And to USC's credit, when I was in high school, I was an all-state, all-American Mike linebacker at 150, 60 pounds, 5'7". So, but I was also a 24-foot long jumper. Back then we were running yards, a 9'7", 9'8", 100-meter guy, 100-yard guy. So BYU said we can take this speed and this toughness and turn him into a defensive back. SC said, where does he fit? He don't pass the eye test, much like they do today. If you ain't that long, tall, athletic kid, they don't take the undersized kid and think he can do anything where they can get the finished product. SC didn't know what I could do in the secondary until I was able to go out there during the summer and compete against some of the guys where they said, this kid can play some corner. So right around my sophomore year, I was thinking about transitioning, but again, that grit, that toughness, I ain't going nowhere. I'm going to fight here, and I'm going to show you I'm one of the best around here. So ended up starting 3 years at the Y, meeting some great people. But it was Lavelle Edwards, it was Chris Pella, it was Ken Schmidt, it was Claude Bassett, it was Coach Ramage, it was Lance Reynolds. When a football player can go back 30, 40 years from when he played and recite all those coaches, Roger French, it tells you a lot about that environment and how it defined him as a man. And so, for me, it was the best place for me at the best time of my life to develop who I needed to be as a man. But it was about those group of men that when you walk in there, and the thing I tell my high school kids today when they're making a decision about college, don't go to because of the school. Find you an academic field that you want to study. Find you a coach that's going to be there, that's going to be able to look your son in the face and say, hey, what's wrong with you today? It's bigger than football for you and I. Something ain't right. Sit down in my office, man. You need to talk to me. Rather than, hey, man, did you go to weightlifting? You didn't work out here. You ain't working hard. All right, this is your grade. You got to go somewhere where a staff and the men around your son is interested in the maturation of your kid. That's the most important thing, because the turnover in college football is going to be there. Where's your kid going to be out on his down days when he needs someone to lift him up to remind him, hey, man, you built for this moment? Or do I not notice the signs in this kid that's showing me he's trying to reach out to me, but he's too proud to give me what's really going on, so I got to pull it out of him. I got to be interested in that kid, and I have to develop a relationship with that kid where he trusts me to give me that information. And boy, what's wrong with you? I can help you. Put your son in that environment, and that's what's more important than any name. It ain't the name, it ain't the university, it's the group of men you surround your kid around. Going to BYU was the best group of men that I could have ever been around to help define me, kind of take some of the street out of me, if you will, and polish me up as a man to where I can go in any setting, I can be around any group of people and know that I can succeed because I've done it. I've had reps at it. I've been around senators and congressmen, and there's, at a young age, I'm sitting at the table with Senator Orrin Hatch, going to the White House when we were in playing Annapolis, Maryland, the Navy, sitting around these dignitaries, not knowing that one day it would prepare me for life and to go into interviews and never be uncomfortable, because I've been around some of the highest, men and women in the world. And so, being there was truly a blessing. But it took, I would say, an act of God to talk me out of not going to San Diego State, because San Diego State didn't have an offer for me. And so, Marcus decided to go to Iowa State because he didn't want to go to BYU because of the religious commitments you'd have to make there. And so we both respected that, went on and did our things. But our desires would go to San Diego State, and then, possibly Arizona. Coach Tony had he had left U of H and went to Arizona, so that was an option for us too. But just, when it came down to me, it was the leader. It was a guy who sat in my living room that was honest, sincere. There's a presence with a guy like that. There's a divinity when you talk to a man like Lavelle Edwards, and he was genuine, and God rest his soul, but just one of the greatest men and I could have ever thought I'd be around. And so he just helped me understand me, and I remember he would tell me, and one day I'm gonna post a picture, he would always tell me, if you had any courage, this is gonna sound crazy, if you had any courage, you can be the greatest to ever have done it. And I would do things like, I'm gonna get back on punt return in spring game, and I'm gonna dazzle the crowd. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna come back and coach. I'm gonna kind of look at him and he go, if you had any courage. Now when I look back on what he was telling me, don't be afraid to put yourself in an uncomfortable position because you're built for it. Learn to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, because you need that to catapult you to your greatness. I was comfortable with kickoff returns, but I could have done punt returns. I was comfortable, batting the ball down when I probably should have went 67 yards with the ball, with an interception. So when I think about what he was trying to give me, I go, it took me 20 years to see Coach's vision. I got to make sure I put my kids in uncomfortable positions and make them comfortable there. I got to take them where others can't take them. I got to train the soul while others just focus on the body, because I got to get to the nature of that young man. And when I captivate that, when I win that, now we got it, because I'm going to make sure you know how it is to be comfortable in this uncomfortable moment, because the great ones dwell here. The average don't want to be here because they're uncomfortable with it. So, that's, I realized, Luis, that my greatest gift is when I've been able to give away from football, and not necessarily as an athlete. It's those I've been able to bring to the pinnacle, if you will. If there's those I've been able to train, that just not in the National Football League, but I got firefighters, I got doctors, I got lawyers, I got mayors. Those are the things that I look back and go, man, if you had not jumped into coaching, you couldn't have had that impact. If it was just about you, your divine purpose is always about them. You've sacrificed self on behalf of what's best for them. And through that, God has rewarded me, and I know that, And so, Lavelle Edwards had a great impact on who I am. Coach Jim Brownfield, again, making me, they used to call me, I was too street when I got to Mary. I didn't want to work, and I was lazy, I was. I remember in track, I wanted to play baseball. All you do in track is run. I don't like running, so what am I going to go do track for? You say, Crutch, you need to do this because you need to work on your speed. Man, I can run sideline to sideline. I don't need to work on no speed. But again, had I not run 9.7, 10.8 at Muir, BYU don't take that chance on me. It's because they say, hey, man, this dude's a 24-foot long jumper. He's a Mike linebacker. He's got 170 tackles. We'll find a spot for him. He can run. And that's what I tell my kids today. If you can run, they'll find a place for you. These guys that can run are unique. Everybody can't do this. It takes a lot of guts to get out here and lose in front of 7,000 to 8,000 people at the Arcade Invitational. But it takes a lot of guts to get into that arena because everybody else ain't gonna embrace it. You gotta be comfortable in this uncomfortable situation. Let's rep this so we can get there. And so being around, again, those men at BYU that wouldn't allow me to fail, that took interest in me as a man and, invest that time in me. I'm just so thankful. Now, if I had to think back and go, do I ever entertain any other idea, it'd be USC. When I hear that fight song or, when I'm around it, it touches me. And it's very few that do, but that SC does touch me. And again, I've had amazing kids go over there and have impact on that program. And so they are near and dear to my heart. My Uncle Charles Phillips played there as All-American. Both my brothers signed there. Rick was the Rose Bowl MVP, and he got inducted to the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame through USC. And so, I got a side of me that's a Trojan too, but, I'm a Cougar, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud I stayed the course, because again, Coach Edwards had an impact on me that I don't think, I could have ever thought and dreamt of growing up, that this would be a guy that I'd fall in love with as a leader and want to, do some of the things he did as a leader for me. So, that's how I kind of got to BYU, and it wasn't my dream school, had no idea about it, until they started recruiting me, and I started looking at it like, man, there ain't no black kids there. I'm gonna get all the black men. I'm not doing that. And then I went there, and the feel is different. The layout is different. First 3 or 4 months there, I desired to hear sirens, be in a dice game, and just to be around some ruckus. But that ain't Provo, Utah. It's a peaceful place. It's a common place. It's a place of love. It's a place of caring. And I had to learn to be comfortable in that environment, which was uncomfortable for me. Mm-hmm. And so once I learned that and I start understanding about who self is, what's important to me spiritually, what's important with my life balance, what are the things that I want to get out of life, those men would lead me in that way and teaching me the right things and not, forcing me to it, but pulling, allowing me to follow them to it. And, when I look back and Coach Edwards said to me, you could be one of the greatest of all time if you wasn't scared. And I get what he was saying now. And so I got a picture that he sent me that he, I was cleaning out the garage. We were moving 2 years ago. And I was regretting, like, man, I ain't never got a picture for Coach Edwards. It'd be cool to have some on my wall from Coach. I was going to throw away a box, and I said, nah, man, let me open this box up and see what's in it. It was a picture from Coach Edwards that he signed for me. So been wanting to post it, but it means a lot to me, and no one knew the story about what he told me about. So now that I've kind of let that story out the bag, I'm the one that posted it. And, he was a guy. He was a guy that would call my mom and talk to my mom about it. Before he passed and then his wife passed, they would write me letters when I was done playing football, 7, 8, 10 years, removed from Provo. They would still write me letters on, every other month about how I'm doing. They were doing a mission. They were on a mission in New York and would just check on me, and it was bigger than football for him. He cared about the kid. He cared about that kid. He went into the living room on 475 West Hammond and knew that it wasn't probably all the bells and whistles that he's been in some living rooms, but he seen promise in the kid that he thought can come fit in.
I don't know where we're at, but
just talking about Coach Edwards and what he meant to me,
yeah.
And that's, BYU wasn't my first choice. San Diego State was, and got a chance to play against them. I played against Marshall Falk, Darnay Patrick Rowe, Darnay Scott, Dan McGuire, just a great group of athletes down there at San Diego State. Ron Slack, my cousin Marlon Andrews was there, but the wealth of talent, and we would have wanted to join that group, but I always felt like I owed them a show every time I saw them because they didn't take us. And so, because that was my dream, is to go to San Diego State. That's where I did want to go. And but again, as God would have it, the best thing that could have happened to me was to go to BYU. It was the change I needed in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
For sure. And like when you got to BYU, I know very much like the Utah area is very predominantly white.
Yep.
And you being like completely undersized as a DB at what, 5'9", 190 they had you at?
Yep. Yep.
What was that whole like culture shift like? Because you explained it, a lot of it was like very uncomfortable because it wasn't what you grew up with.
Yes.
But how did you like go from like California, Pasadena, that very rough childhood and upbringing? How did it culminate into you being like a great man 4 years going into like the pro league and trying to completely shift who you are in those 4 years?
I think I took it as a challenge, man. I often tell the story. It's kind of funny. I was sitting in class one day at BYU, my freshman year. I redshirted. There was a girl that was staring at me, and I thought she was staring at me because I was cute. That's what I'm thinking. So after class, I was like, "Hey, I've seen you kind of staring at me. Why are you staring at me like that?" And she broke down crying. And I was like, "Oh my God, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? I didn't swear at her. Why is she crying?" She said, "I've never seen a black person before, and I'm marveling at your skin. I'm looking at your hair, and every day is fascinating to me." And I said to myself that moment, I need to go speak to kids in this area, many of whom have only identified with blacks on TVs. They don't understand the culture. They don't understand the man. It's up to me to get out and let them embrace what a good quality black man is versus an older relative that may have a stereotype or a movie or a play or a TV series. Let them determine what a black person is. I took it as a challenge to say, let me touch upon and show everyone around me that I'm here at BYU in Provo, Utah, who I am, and I'm a man of principle, and I can speak with the best of them. They told me I was going to fail out of BYU. I went to a public inner city school in Muir to walking up on the campus with the grade point average and the AP kids that are in Provo, Utah, and I was a scholar athlete when I left BYU. When you start earning those things, it breeds in confidence. And so I took it all as a challenge, I'm going to make sure all the kids know who Tony Crutchfield is. I want to make sure they understand that black kids and black men are smart, they're intelligent, they're witty. My senior year, I was co-captain with Rocky Beagle and Ty Detmer, who won the Heisman Trophy. To be captain at a Brigham Young University, to be me, was different. And so, those same people, again, who from afar I thought wanted to see me fail in life, those kind of things gave me the accolades that I needed to kind of reinforce my mission, is that not only will I not fail out of here, I'll be a scholar athlete here. Not only will I lead my group of peers I grew up in Pasadena, I'll lead men, and many of whom was 24, 25 years old, returned missionaries. Here I am. I went to BYU. I was 17 years old. I didn't believe in holding back. My son ain't holding back. That's just not who I am. I believe no man can curse what God has ordained you to be anyway. What God has blessed, what I need to do any of that for. So with that being said, I really felt like I had a gift. And with this gift, I'm going to go up on this campus and show them I'm different. And that level of thinking is what kind of carved out my niche, if you will, to where I wanted to make sure I left an imprint at BYU with the people I was around, with getting a leadership award. It had to be bigger than football for me. And that's where it started becoming this avalanche of it's bigger than football for me. Football's given me the platform, and thank God I was talented enough to gain this platform. But my voice and the things I do habitually every day will determine, on that last day when I got to be judged through our Heavenly Father, what He says of me. Did I betray my gift? Did I recognize my gift? And then I go do something about it? Do I go help and move others? When I look back at the last 30 years, I've been saying, man, this 30 years have gone by fast, but they really have been important steps for me to identify with, first and foremost, myself and then my mission. What's it truly about for me? What do I get out of this? I'm doing God's work, and I tell everybody, most times you hear me get up and give speeches and talk, I don't prepare nothing. I let God use me. I pray about it. I say, God, work in me. And that's what I realized, again, at BYU, when you go up there, you go, this is a different place. When I first touched upon that campus, I was scared to death. I'm the only black kid, and there's 300 people in here, and then, and I'm going, man, this is humanities, and I'm the only one that looked like me in here. If I miss class, the teacher gonna know, because guess what, I'm the only black in the class anyway. I wore that, There was days when I was 17 years old, again, not as confident. When I was asked a question, I felt like I was speaking for the whole black race, and I had to represent. And so you wear that, and you start having a little confidence about that. And I went through a militant phase at BYU where I was all Malcolm X. And believe it or not, Coach Edwards called me in his office and said, Tony, what do you know about Malcolm X? And I'm like, Coach, what you mean? Well, I know about by any means necessary. How much you know about Dr. King? I know, Dr. King was a peaceful man. Do you know that before he passed, Malcolm was killed, him and Martin Luther King had come together, and they were going to do some things as a team. And this was their bond that no one knew about, that they were really headed on the same page, down the same. Nah, Coach, I didn't never know that. He provided me literature. There wasn't no internet back then. He gave me books that helped me identify what the true march and the vision that they truly had, and who the new Malcolm was before the movies came out. And again, how did Coach Edwards even know all this, man? How you know about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King? What made you study this enough to know you'd have Tony Crutchfield come through your program and you need to have this conversation with him? To break it down with me from, again, I'm militant, I'm confident. Some people probably say arrogant, to where I'm level-headed and understanding of the mission, what's truly important. It's the man in us and not the man around us that matters. And so having those kind of people and having that wisdom around me to say I'm confident enough to know that I can have a change and affect change around me, and then having the gall to go out and do it, And so it just, going to BYU was a culture shock, man. I ain't tell you no lie. I wanted to go home probably every other week. And I'm just like, man, this place is too different, and ain't nothing like home. It's too quiet. Think about this. I'm in a place where it's too quiet. It's too peaceful. There's no sirens, man. There's no shooting. Man, this place ain't good for me. That's what my mindset was back then. I need to be around some riffraff. I need to be around some dice games. I need to hear that talk. You know what I mean? I need to be around dudes. But that was my comfortable environment where I didn't get into it, but I wanted to be around it because it was comfortable for me. But to be around all this peace and this quiet, it become unsettling for me. You know what I mean? So learning to understand and embrace that. And now as a man, I talk to my family all the time about, one day I want to retire on some ranch with about 5, pit bulls and in the country by myself with peace. I would never have said this when I was 20 years old, but I want to be far away from everybody, just live on the ranch, have a little football program in the country where I can go coach and teach kids and come home and play with my dogs on this big old ranch by myself. And, being in a place like that, having coached in Moscow, Idaho, in a place like that, you start desiring different things out of life that make you peaceful inside. And so, all that started with the dynamics and the making of the challenges of Provo, Utah, because it was challenging for me. You didn't see blacks walking down the street when I was there. If you seen an African American or a black person on campus, they probably was Mormon first and foremost, and they probably wasn't from this country. And so to hear that, to know that was just different for me, man. And so to go through that change and then to walk around with confidence is I'm as smart as anybody on this campus. I'm as good as anybody on this campus in football. I'm one of the youngest dudes here. Again, I got there at 17 years old. By 20, I was a co-captain on that football team. And to know that I got older men that respect me, that voted me in as their captain at Brigham Young, a place they said I would fall and fell out of school because I wasn't smart enough to go to, I must have a little something to this. I must be all right. If I can get this done here, there's nowhere in corporate America I can't succeed. There's no community I can go to. There's no place from rural to suburban to you name it, a private school. I've been there. I've done that. I can succeed anywhere in this world. Just give me a team. Put people around me and stand back and watch what I do. I'll find a way to win because I go for the man. And I go for that core, the inner spirit that I can touch, that I don't think others can get where I can get. And when I get there, I got you. And so that's when I realized the superpower of what I can do and who I am and what my true gift was. It wasn't the football, it wasn't the tackling, it wasn't the violence. It was the learning how to be a leader and how to bring people along, how to teach and determine and change minds, to plant dreams in people. You know, sometimes kids, and I hate to just go off on the topic, but sometimes kids don't understand that their dreams are real if you're willing to chase them. How much you're willing to sacrifice to get there. Because if you're willing to do it, then you can do it. You know, and so having the opportunity to go into schools and tell kids, you can be as great as you want to be. I was once you. You couldn't, from my situation, it's hard to get much worse. My dad was a convicted felon, you know. My uncles are convicted felons. I'm with my mom, and everybody say I'm a bad kid. I was a kid. I know I haven't shared this. I was a kid that has, they said, had ADD. I was on Ritalin. I was on tranquilizers when I was a young kid in kindergarten because the teachers couldn't control me. They said I was out of control. They said I was violent, so they put me on drugs. And so when you go through all that, you feel like you got a little something different to get to where the little Tony they seen was 7 years old on Ritalin to that 17-year-old that was marching his way to Brigham Young University. When I look back and I go, I overcame all of that to get here, I must be something. I can captivate people. I can lead. And so being in that environment, again, gave me the confidence that I can jump into any room, any setting, any board meeting, and speak with the best of them, understand the conversations, and carry and own the conversations. I can walk into that room, and in my mind, I'm the bar raiser. I'm the difference here. And so when you walk in there with that confidence, it intimidates some people that are not comfortable with themselves, but I don't run away from who I am. And the confidence comes because of the belief in myself and what I can do with people, not only young people, but people. You know, young, white, black, Hispanic, just give me people, man. You know, because at the end of the day, we all are who we are inside and the outside that we didn't choose. So God put us in who He put us in for a reason, and love and embrace that. Now let's come together and make this happen. Let's win together. Let's go one way, you know. Let's make sure that we're all dialed in for a common goal, for a common purpose, so that if you win, we win. If I win, we win. And when you get that rolling and everybody in that group starts believing it, look out. And that's where we at right now with Corona Track, you know. With Centennial, it's can be special if we can stay the course. The athlete there is very different, and the appetite there is very different. I got to be honest, in coming down to the field versus sitting in the stands, I thought there's be a lot of undisciplined kids that were just not willing to be coached. I tell kids now, and I've told some of your teammates, I had you pegged wrong from the stands. The bad body language you displayed, the lack of wanting to be coached that I saw wasn't who you are today. I realized you just needed somebody to pull you, someone to make give you something you believe in, someone to say it ain't okay for you to cuss on my field, it ain't okay for you to use the N-word. If you do, there's consequences behind it. You will carry yourself as a good man for the rest of your natural life because you're one of my guys. And when you give these kids the structure, that 20 that we had last year, they're going to turn into 120 this year, maybe 150 next year. But I say come one, come all, because we learning how to win in life. And so that's the thing I take so much pride in where we at today is that I've seen kids, change who I thought about them, which as a leader makes me go back and go, sometimes the environment has a way of shaping kids into a perception that they may truly not be. And at the end of the day, they're still kids, and you got to give them a chance. So as a leader, I try to learn from why did I perceive some of these kids this way. And when I get up close on them and I coach them and I'm jumping on them and I'm tough on them and they smile and embrace it, I go, oh, you just needed this? Oh, I got you now. Let's get this done together. And so word spread, and now all your boys is out there, and I tell them, come out, let's learn about life, man. But just know Coach Crutch real with this. I take this personal because life is personal. Because one day somebody gonna ask you, did you know did you play? You know Coach Crutch? And it's an expectation. If you know Coach Crutch on how to perform, how to act, and what being a man is about, that's what I want to rehearse every day at practice. And so, I think everything has happened, Luis, for me for a reason, and I think every stop I've made has been for a reason. I'm at Centennial. I almost say Roosevelt because I've been there for so long, but I'm at Centennial now for a reason. I'm around this group for a reason at the right time, and I think this group has a chance to be special. Probably one of the best groups I've been around, and I had 7 one year and 8 the next year at Muir get scholarships. This group I'm around right now, you guys got a special group, and I think they stay the course, they're gonna do some remarkable things, and so that's what excites me most, man. Is this group is special.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and I see that every day with them.
Yeah. They got something different about them.
For sure.
They just got to stay the course.
Yeah. And like at Brigham Young, towards the end, you got that scholarship leadership award, 1991.
Yeah.
What was that season like for you?
You know, man, it was the first time, believe it or not, I was ranked top 12, 15 corners in America going into my senior year. Playing linebacker all throughout high school, you know, getting to BYU, making the transition to play corner. I had high expectations of self, and I knew I was good enough to play in the National Football League, and so I planned on having an incredible senior year. Had surgery, I tore my patella tendon in my right knee, flew out to Alabama. Again, BYU, one of those places where I had to have a special knee surgery. They called all over the world. There was a guy in France that did the surgery. There's a guy named Jim Andrews out of Birmingham, Alabama, who did Bo Jackson surgery. That was the only one doing a scope behind the patella tendon to repair my knee. So they flew me down to Birmingham, Alabama for 3 weeks with Jim Andrews, did my surgery. So I played, got shot up quite a bit my sophomore year to play. My junior year was just painful. We needed to have the work done, so I got the work done. But what happened was there was an imbalance in the muscles on both my legs. And so at the time, I don't really know, man. I just had surgery. I got to stay off of it. Ty was, he had to have shoulder surgery. He got hurt after the Holiday Bowl against A&M. So we spent a lot of time in the spring talking football. I'm trying to pick his brain. He picking my brain. But developing my leg strength in both legs, I think there was an imbalance. So going into my senior year, again, I played my whole life. Ain't never been hurt before. My senior year, game 6 against UTEP. Chasing the guy down on a breakaway run, and I'm running at an angle from the side, tore my hamstring, and I'm like, oh my God, this feels different. So I tore my right hamstring and went down, had to miss 3 or 4 games. First time I had to go through any adversity from an athletic standpoint and try to rehab and come back to finish my senior year. Along the way, you have to find a way to have an impact without being able to call the huddle, if you will, and without being able to make a play, if you will. I had to find a way to lead through adversity. I had to find a way to operate in an uncomfortable situation because I'm hurt, and I want these grown men to listen to what I got to say on Friday nights when I got to talk to the team because I'm the captain. And so I think with a lot of my teammates, they've seen the growth from this 17-year-old to this 20-year-old that's now taking over the locker room, and I'm learning to do pregame speeches, is what I later learned I was doing. But my teammates responded, and they respected the fact that I was still leading from the bench because I couldn't play. And so I think that's why they voted me the leader of the team that year. And so that's one of the awards I'm probably most proud of, is that I earned that one from not being on the field, actuality. I earned that one from going through an adverse situation, trying to turn it into a positive, missing 3 or 4 games my senior year, to getting back on the field, a legendary speech about San Diego State and Darnay Scott, Patrick Rowe, and one of the classic 52-52 battles against San Diego State with Marshall Falk and those guys. And when I talk to my teammates, they remind me of that speech. But it was leadership through those adverse times and being comfortable in those uncomfortable situations that, from a vocal standpoint, you know, the impact I was able to have, I think is the reason why my team voted me the leader of the year. And, you know, again, that's one of the awards I keep near and dear to me because I know what it took to get there. A lot of times people say, oh, you probably did this, you did this, you did this. No, I was hurt. I had to step up, and I had to lead from the bench. And I had to be present at practice without being present at practice. And those things are hard to do. And for your teammates to still respect you and you're down, but you can't go to battle with them on Saturdays. And I had to find a way to have a niche to make sure they still had that level of respect for me. And I think they probably would, you know, but again, I probably put more pressure on myself to find a way to have an impact when you can't truly have an impact physically on those games. And so that award there, and then probably State Defensive Player of the Year for California, probably two awards that mean the most to me, you know, because it was I wasn't recruited my junior year to being a State Player of the Year, my senior year to, you know, being a captain, a co-captain at BYU, And a place where they said I fell out of school to these men have voted me the leader of the year, and I'm co-captain of this football team. You know, when I look back at the accomplishments and where I came from, those are the things that probably mean the most is those 2 awards right there.
For sure. And after that, like 1991 year, you had to go into the draft, basically.
Yeah,
right?
went to the draft. It was crazy, man. Getting them training. For the workout with about 6 GMs, me, Ty, and I. Getting ready for that. I tore my right hamstring after coming off the knee surgery. Then I kind of hurt my left one, so it kind of hurt me running. But nevertheless, I run. Go undrafted. Detroit offered me a great contract. I had the highest free agent contract. And so I ended up taking that, going down to Detroit, and put myself in a great spot. And Monday Night Football, we're going to play against Buffalo. I tore my hamstring. Detroit was moving me from the corner spot back inside the safety where I knew I belonged anyway. I was a guy like to bang around a little bit, and so I tore my hamstring in practice, and we got into some legal issues. And 3 years later, it took me to get my contract, but it cost me my career. You know, and so I look back on those days, and sometimes I regret the memories that I probably lost, but I'm proud of the principles I stood on. You know, when you choose to be courageous enough to file a lawsuit in that league, you know, the powers that be will tell you that, you know, it's going to turn out bad for you, even if you get this little bit of money, which was nothing anyway, considering the money they make now. But it's a decision that you stand on and may cost you your career. And so I look back, I sometimes feel cheated about the memories, but the guys I played against and the guys I played with know what I can do and know what I could have done. So I hang on to that, and then, you know, just knowing that had I not probably had a longer career, I probably wouldn't have invested so much as I did in the community when I got back home, you know, because I still had that passion. And early off in my career, I was able to play through my guys, and I still find my way game day now, being around it, you still kind of play through your guys, and so it's always been my outlet. But I had to make a decision as a young professional of, you know, they offered me a couple weeks, you know, compared to NFL PA, said, you done tore 70% of your hamstring, you done for the year. You can take what they give you, or we can fight them, and I chose to fight them, you know. So I don't, again, I don't regret it, you know, it is what it is, and a lot of kids had that dream and never get to that level, you know, but having gotten to that level and having played at that level and been around it, I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world, you know. And if I had to make the same decision today, I probably would make the same decision. I'm gonna stand on principle, and no matter if it, you know, Ali would say, if I had to denounce, I wouldn't denounce Elijah Muhammad if I had to face machine gun fire. I wouldn't denounce my decisions if I had to face machine gun fire. I'm gonna stand on principle. And, you know, that's what I chose to do. And sometimes it's cost me things, but I'm able to live with it because the integrity inside me says it's a right call. So, you know, from a fiduciary standpoint, yeah, it might have cost me some, but spiritually, I think I gained a lot, you know, and I think I've been winning a lot of spirits since then, too. So I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. I think that's more important than anything. Just
absolutely.
You can never sell your soul.
Yep, absolutely.
And, like, after that whole NFL, you went to coaching a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And one player that, like, stood out to me a lot and, like, looking through everything was Jamal Williams.
Yes.
Can you, like, talk to me about, like, when you first met him, like, progressing him and, like, what you see that's so different from him that you see the people who just don't make it as far as he has currently?
Great question. And going back, man, and again, over 25, 30 years now, I realize some of the best athletes that I've coached are not the ones that have gone the furthest in the game. And working out with my group this past season, I brought out Dante Dion, I brought out Devon Blackman, and it is those kids, Marcus Williams, that their passion for the game of football is undeniable, is what makes them successful. Got a chance to, we used to call him J-Man, when Jamal was in youth track. I got a chance to be a part of his life then, and give respect to his mom, Nicole. She's one of those rare parents that said, you know, I've had a few, I'm not gonna say she's the only one, but I've had a few say, hey, get him there, I trust you, I know you love him, so I'm gonna stand back and let you do what you do. I'm one of those old school guys. I don't let my kids play 7-on. I don't let them go to these little teams and you're gonna do it this way and we're gonna run track. And at the track's over, we're gonna do team 7-on-7 with the program. We're gonna learn fundamentals, we're gonna learn technique, and in 5 years you'll thank me for it. Same way I was with Jamal and those guys. But I had Jamal when he was probably somewhere between 10 and 12 years old, all the way through, and got a chance to coach him in high school. And I watched Jamal kind of practice what he had as a youth. Jamal, it's uncommon for kids in age group track to win national titles at their bottom of the age group. So the age groups is like 9 and 10 is bantam, sub bantam is 8 and 9, midget is 11, 12. I watched Jamal win track championships at the bottom of his age group. And you knew he was a special athlete. But then Jamal broke his foot. Jamal gets to Summit, and he's a running back for us, but he ain't probably our top 3 or 4 best running backs. And so Jamal went through a period of, I would say, was somewhat depressed because he wasn't performing at the level he was used to. So I would make him every day after track practice run. You know, we do our track work like I do with you guys. I take Jamal and say, I want you to do 10 200-meter straights. I'm going to see how committed he was. Coach Lee Hodge had me do it, mirror, work on my speed. So I'm going to have Jamal do it. So he does it, and he does it, and he does it. Going into his junior year, we got Montego Alford, which is one of the best running backs I've ever coached that would go to Boise State and play basketball. Montego was our starting tailback, though. Didn't mean Jamal wasn't as good or a good running back. He just wasn't Tego. Tego, again, was gifted. So I watched Jamal have to struggle to earn his keep. I watched him have to be patient in order to get his opportunities. Jamal's senior year, BYU came in early on, and again, he was kind of like his coach in that I want the loyal school and the best guy to lead me, and it didn't turn out to be USC or UCLA. It turned out to be BYU for him. But I watched him turn into a monster in the game with his courage, and him and I kind of had the discussion about I would have liked to see him play will linebacker. I didn't want him to take the pounding as a running back. He wanted to tote the ball. But his passion level was just undeniable. The kid loves the game of football. And I think if he could just eat cereal every day, play his video games, and go to football practice, that he would be okay for the rest of his natural life if that's all he did. And it's not fake about him. This is truly him. What you see and what the little skits that they'll cut out and the things he's talking about, that's really Jamal, man. He ain't putting on the front. He love football. He love his little anime or whatever that stuff called he watch. He's serial, he gonna play his game, and then he gonna do the same thing the next day. He don't want you messing with him, he don't want you come by. If you want to give him some of them little cards and all that, he'll take, but he want to play football, man. And that's all he want to do, But that was Jamal then and the same Jamal now. His courage and his heart and his determination is second to none. So when I watched him go through, being a backup at Green Bay to coming into Detroit, the battle with Swift and where he fits, and just watching him impose his will on everyone around him to where his passion is exuding out of him so much, these other grown men and coaches are grabbing to him and say, we need 30. We need that dude, man. He's the heart and pulse of this team because he lays it all on the line, man. He loves that game of football, man. And so, one of the things when I look back over my career and I go, man, this is one of the best athletes I ever coached. This is the fastest athlete I coached. Man, why these dudes didn't make it to the league and yet this group over here did? And I go, man, them dudes love the game more than these guys. These guys wanted the spoils of victor. These guys just want to play football. I think they play football right now free if you let them. Like, man, this is cool. These guys over here, if you ain't getting paid, they ain't trying to play no football. So when I look back on what made Jamal and what makes Jamal special, it's his love for the game that you can't teach that. You can't go to Walmart and find that on the shelf or order it on a 2-day shipment. It's in that man's heart. And he loved his game, man. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yes, indeed.
And I see all these players and I've seen so many of your NFL guys, Marcus Williams, right?
Yep.
I see all of them. Which one's one that stands out to you above a lot of them? That's an amazing story.
Oh, man, so many of them. It's hard for me to choose one. You gotta ask me another question. I can't choose one.
Okay, I'll give you one.
Yeah, tailor it differently because
okay.
all of them got a different twist and a different story
sure.
that makes them unique.
All right, probably Marcus Williams is the one that I know off the top of my head that's good and has his own foundation right now.
Yep.
Can you tell me like what was he like growing up, and how did that like convert to him being in the
Yeah.
NFL and him having his own foundation
Yeah.
like for youth?
I'll tell you what, Marcus, and a lot of people don't know this story. Coach Burrell was our head coach at Roosevelt. I was the DC assistant head coach. And I was struggling finding guys in the secondary. We weren't very good that year, so I was rotating guys around, rotating guys. And Marcus came to us, I think from Chino Hills via Colony, and had checked in at Roosevelt. I think he had to sit the first 5 games because he was a transfer kid, so he didn't play to our league games. So kind of watched this kid as a junior. He had some talent to him. The one thing that was undeniable was his ball skills. He had some of the best hands I've ever seen on any football player. So I'm like, I'm watching him. He's long, he's rangy, he's instinctive, and watching him. And so we played a couple tournaments, the Salesian tournament his senior year. Watching my secondary, we ain't very good, but Burrell at that time got away from two-way guys. And so it was uncommon for us in the Big 8 to have two-way players. And I'll never forget that we were playing Orange. I want to say it was either Orange or Tustin. We just gave a long one on a cover 3. Kid split the seams. My safety sat down, and I'm angry right now. I look over there. I see Marcus, go in the game. Coach, you serious? Go stay deepest and deepest, man. Follow the quarterback. Let's go stay deepest and deepest. All right, coach. Second quarter it was. Marcus came out of that game with 3 picks. One pick, he ended up jumping about, I want to say 40 inches in the air and jumped off a ball and showed range that I didn't even know he really had. So Burrell came over to me after the first one, was kind of pissed, like, yeah, you put him, you know how you put him in the game, man, whatever, we losing, I need help. He got 3 picks, so what are you going to do? And so if you look at the jersey that Marcus gave me from the Saints, he said, thank you for taking a wide receiver and turning him into defensive back. And I told Marcus, I said, wide receivers with your ability are a dime a dozen. Safeties with your ability are rare. You got ball skills that's second to none, man. You got range and instincts that can't be taught. I think you need to play some football. He's a hell of a point guard, too. I watched him in the SAF finals against, I think it was Long Beach Poly. You know, I always tease my guys. About 20 years ago, I could play basketball with him. So, Marcus, I dunk on you. I seen Marcus dunk on a 7-footer. I'm like, woo, I need to leave that boy alone. He got some real bounce. And so to see him grow into what he's become, he was always a kid, and this is really rare in this new age we live in, where I can sincerely say there's a few kids, very few kids I can say I've never heard him say a swear word. Marcus would almost sound goofy when he would say funk or something that wasn't a cuss word, but you kind of knew what he would, you know, what the other kids would say. Marcus wouldn't allow himself to be put in that arena. Making him, you know, talking him into running track. He was a big-time high jumper, running 300-meter hurdles. In his quest to be good, he was just always a kid that would sit back and very observant and would listen. And when he got his turn, he just competed, man. He just loved to compete. And again, his passion level, you got certain kids that just really love playing the game. They really love competing. You know, Dante Dion's another one. Just really love, it don't matter what we're doing. They trying to win and they enjoy it. You know, Dante Dion's a kid I had played with the Rams, and no matter, he used to make me mad because he just would laugh all the time. Man. He just was just having too much fun. I mean, what are you laughing for? Oh, coach, man, I love this. He really loved it, man. He really loved this game. I had to let, you know, him and Jamal be there. Marcus really loved the game, man. Just let them dudes play. And so, you know, his story of being snatched off the sidelines, thrown into a high school football game his senior year, wasn't being recruited as a safety, into what he is today. I remember Nebraska came down, one of my coaching buddies at the University of Idaho was a receiver coach in Nebraska. And he said, you know, where do you see Marcus playing? I said, man, I see Marcus as a safety. I think he's a big-time safety. He said, who in the league does he remind you of? I said, man, I got to be honest with you. Marcus is different than any of them dudes in the league, man. He got his own thing, man. He's just different, man. He's a special football player. Trust me when I tell you. I shot him a screenshot of Marcus's last contract and said, I told you this one was different. He wasn't like anybody else in the league at that time. He's got a different skill set, man. His jump on a go route, from the middle of the field where he can get to a sidelines on, some of these big time NFL quarterbacks. It's just rare, man. He's got a knack for the game that you can't teach, and to watch him grow physically, his confidence level, it's been fun to watch from a coach's perspective. Knowing I just took that guy out there and threw him out there, and God gave him all that. I just had to point him in the right direction. And so I look at now, like, man, that's one of the highest paid safeties, best football players in the National Football League right now. It's a lot to be proud of. Mm-hmm. And so, that's kind of his story.
For sure. And, like, as you got older into, like, your coaching career and you became a father and you had to, like, raise and even coach your own son now, what's different in, like, being a father to him and being like a coach, and where do the lines draw, and where are you a father and where are you a coach?
It's challenging, man, because there's no handbooks on this. My oldest son, Tony Jr., struggled a little bit, and I'm not gonna say he struggled. I struggled as well with helping him embrace the coach part versus the dad part, shutting off the coach part versus the dad part when we get home or on the car ride home. And my oldest son had some of the best hands I've seen, but didn't love football. I say, man, don't play football if you don't love this game. You ain't got to do it because I did it. He chose to run track and be a All-American at Cal State Fullerton in track. And then, Tyson is probably one of my toughest kids. And, she was as competitive as anything I've ever seen. And she never struggled with the dad coach portion of it. She kind of always embraced it. And then Todd is kind of different. He has his good and bad days where sometimes I want to snatch him up and then sometimes I want to give him a high five. But it's challenging because you see so much promise and you have to be patient. And that's the one thing I've learned with all my kids. First and foremost, just like every kid I coach, they're all different. Even my own household is different on how I handle each one of my kids, the things I say to motivate them. I can be sharp and aggressive with one. I have to be creative and leave. I have to plant a seed in your mind to make you get where I'm coming to. If I come to you straightforward and say this, you'll never get it because I came to you straightforward. I got to let it become your idea. And so, Todd's is kind of a combination of them both. And so I have to get his mind because he's sharp and he kind of understands my tact sometimes. He's probably been around me more than my oldest two with coaching all of those Jamals, the Dantes, the Dan Cruikshanks, the Thomas Grahams, the Darnay Holmes. Taj has been right there to watch me coach him. And so with him, I gotta plant seeds and let him come to an understanding. But, watching his talent and telling him, man, if I'd had what you had at your age, I probably could still be playing, bro. You got things I didn't have, but what was in here is what different, and this is what is going to determine how much and how fair and how far you go. Because talent ain't going to be the hit. You're already, 6 feet tall. You're already, sub 1,100 meters. I wasn't none of those things at 15 years old. You're not a holdback. You're a true sophomore. And you can compete with the best of them if you choose to compete with the best of them, But I think confidence is key. Ownership is key. Accountability is key, and desiring to be coached. A lot of the kids I see out there now don't know how to accept coaching because as an athlete, and something I taught as a young coach, don't listen to how I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying. And a lot of times I've watched kids get turned off because of what a coach is telling them or how a coach is telling them something versus what that coach is telling them. And then from that point on, they shut it off. Then I watch a coach and I know how to get him back and how to reel him back in and just move on to the next kid. And I think that's the art and the beauty of being able to coach in today's time. First and foremost, these kids ain't changed. The leadership around the kids have changed. They still want discipline. They still want a pathway. They still want correction. They still want tough love. And the things that we wanted growing up is now how do you give that to them? How do they know? Because I tell everybody, once a person knows how much you care, it's not what you know, it's how much you care about that particular kid that means the difference. And once they know how much you care, they'll go through a wall for you. It don't matter. Once they know how much you care, you don't have to know a whole lot. But you care about them, they know you truly love them, they'll go through a wall for you. So once you establish that, and once they understand that you're truly about them, and this is the reason why you do it free, I ain't gaining nothing out of this, man. I'm trying to help you. At the end of the day, I want to be able to sit back and watch. Go, man, I had a part in that kid's life, man. I helped him do this. That's where I get joy out of it, you know. And so, I try to teach Taj those things, and try to teach his boys. It's like 6 or 7 of them I've been with since they're 6 or 7 years old. So all they know is hard work, and they know the tempo, and they know the expectation. And so to be around those kids makes it fun. But they've all been different, man, and they've all been a challenge for me to turn off coach sometimes and stop being in speech mode at home sometimes, because I seize opportunities all the time. And so some of it I go, just let him fail, let him figure it out. Don't worry about that one. That ain't a big one. You need to look for a big one. That's just a little one. That's a single. You look for a home run. You know, that's a 20-yard pass. You're looking for a touchdown. I want the 80-yard bomb. So I got to pick and choose my moments with him. And I can't pick at every moment because he'll become desensitized to the message. And so, you know, with my kids, that's what I've learned, is that I can't always be in coach mode. Sometimes I got to be in dad mode. And dad has got to be confident enough that if his kid fails, he'll be able to get back up. He's got to watch him fall. He's got to watch him go through adverse situations. You got to watch him struggle with a coach and teach him how to deal with that adult, as opposed to, I'm going to go down to the field, this coach going to hear from me. He don't know what I did, that. No. Todd's got to go through that, man. He got to own this. He got to learn, because he's going to need this in life. I got to sit back and be patient and let him process this. I got to let him go through this journey. This journey is about him. I have mine. I can't fight this for him. I could, but it'll hurt him. Let him fight his battle and trust the process. And a lot of parents, a lot of programs struggle with that. And so I've had to step back and let him fight his battles. Could I interject? Could I probably have changed it early? Yep, but he don't grow. I want him with a chip on his shoulder. I want him to feel like he's got the world against him. I want him to be his back against the wall, because one day his back is going to really give you against the wall. Has he repped that? Does he understand that? Is he resilient enough to fight back? And so I got to, tough as it is as a father, because that's the father part, you want to help him and you want to bail him out. But I understand that process, and I got to teach him how to fight. And so sitting back and being confident enough to trust the process and that he'll get there because of what I gave him as his foundation has been the most challenging part. But I think it's kind of turned him into who he is today, and I think who he's going to become. And so, you know, it's been a learning process, though, because I stay in coach mode all day. You know, some of the people here say, man, do you just coach all day? Yeah, I do. It's kind of who I am. Look for opportunities to make people better. You know, and I'm at home the same way, and, you know, the family gets tired of me, but I got to learn when to turn it off and let him fail, you know. And so that's been the biggest change I think I made with Taj than Tyson and Tony Jr. is I don't stay in coach mode all the time. Sometimes I just watch him fail and have to let him get up, as opposed to every moment I see him do something, I have to coach him, and I have to put it in a form to where it is something that relies to a story that happened in 1978 when I was 8. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I got to let him create his own path.
Mm-hmm. And like more on the topic of Taj and all his friends that I'm like very well aware of. I see this, and it's crazy to me. I see CJ, just raw talent, just athleticism, and then I see CJ, who wasn't as gifted, but he works hard every day, and he's very, very close to where CJ is.
Yes.
What do you think would be, if like in your personal eyes, what would be a better situation to be in? Just having raw athletic talent, or just working every single day just to even catch up to the people where you are currently?
Yeah. I think I've seen both succeed, and I think the difference is how bad each kid wants to be successful. I've seen the super talented kid who didn't have to work hard, was already faster than everybody else, fail because it came a day when everybody caught him and he had to work hard and he didn't know how, so he failed. I've seen the average kid grow up, get a little taller, start competing, learn hard work ethic, prevail. All of a sudden he gets here and he's one of the best around. I've seen that kid lose interest in sports and don't want to do it and want to go to school, which is okay. But don't fool yourself into thinking you love this game and you really love this game. And so I've seen both equations be successful. I think from a coach's standpoint, I stand on, I have to give every one of them the toolbox to be successful for whatever decision that they make. I need to prepare them for it. And so that's where I kind of land, because each one of them are very different. Each one of them has a different story, a different set of skill sets. Each one of them have things they can work on to make them better, but their drive and their vision is different. And I always tell kids, help me and be patient with me if my dream for you is bigger than your dream for yourself. Because I see you at your optimum level. I don't see you at an average level. When I look at you, I see the best in you. Forgive me if you don't. But I'm not going to stop being who I am. And if it's too much, maybe you ain't the kid for me and I'm not the coach for you. And so, be that as it may, I have to give them the skill set to fit in any arena they choose to be in. Because again, everybody ain't gonna make it to college and everybody ain't gonna make it to the National Football League. But everybody gotta jump into life at some point. You know, 3-4 years for all you guys, you'll be grown men, make a mistake, go to prison. I need to make sure you don't make that mistake and you can fit in society and do something positive in society with a skill set and a tool set that I help you develop. And so when I look at it, I go, what does he need? He need a little bit more of this. He need a little bit more of this. Let him shoot him this. Oh, this is a good story. Let me shoot this to him. Let me reinforce this message to him. Let me make sure he watches this kid or this athlete or this pro who he tries to emulate so that he can learn this skill set. So I think every one of them has a great opportunity. You know, I've seen a kid go to a small school, go to the league. I've seen a kid go to USC and go to the league. You know what I mean? So it's that passion level, it's that opportunity, and it's that stick-to-itness that you need in order to persevere. Because it's Coach Herman Edwards said, you know, many times it's your availability and not your ability. It's your availability when that time comes. Do you have to get ready, or did you stay ready? And when that moment comes, did you seize that opportunity? It's about preparing them for that moment, and that's the thing that I feel like my job is. Whatever decision they make, I got to make sure they're prepared to succeed with that decision.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yep.
And even like now that we're in the track season, where do you think the balance falls between like where track starts and where football ends, and where track ends and football begins?
With me, it's very simple. Again, and you're talking to a football coach, so this is what I do. And one of them rare guys that made a living coaching football. I had to feed my family as a football coach, so it's what I love. It's what raised me. When football season's over for me, football season's over. And I get into my lab, if you will, where I can now win the mind. Because of the intimacy of track and field, I can say and I can plant seeds that are not as direct and firm as it is when I'm on a football field. So I take a very different approach as a track coach, because now I'm the doctor, I'm the psychologist, I'm the mad scientist in the track room, because now I'm building you into who I want you to be as a football player. I need time away from football to do that. You know, I believe the greatest skill set you can have to play the game of football is speed. I think speed determines the outcome of a lot of equations in football. I think without speed, there's no place for you in that National Football League. If that's where you're trying to go, there's no place. In college football, if this kid over here runs a 10-4 and you run 11-4, they're going to take the 10-4 kid. Trust me when I tell you. There's always a place in football for the kid that can run. And so I've always been able to take my football players at this time of year and toughen them up. And when they get to football season, you know, you've seen the 660 breakdowns and the amount of throwing up that goes on, and the pain, and I can't get up, I can't move my legs. But as you recall, go back to any football practice where you guys felt that way. And again, you're talking about a guy that's a football coach, so I know it. But I know I can take that body a different place when I get to track. I can get the helmet off, throw the ball over there, and say, I'm going to rely on your heart and courage now. I'm going to put you to the test on this watch. I'm going to put you at 4 reps. I'm going to take you to Mount Sac. I'm going to make you train for 6 hours. I'm going to take your body places that have never been and have you do things you didn't think you can do. When you get to football and to play 7 seconds, man, I remember my dudes run all day. I'm faster than you. I've dominated you at Mount Sac. You 4-star? You a 5-star? Oh, I ate you up. Wait till we put these pads on. I'm a different animal now. And so that's the mentality I build through track. So then we get back to football. Man, set them spikes over there, man. It's June. It's May time. It's go time now. Now we turn into that gladiator. It's a gladiator. We're in the Coliseum now. Now the stakes is high. Now we coming out here to take heads off. That's when that monster come out. And I done created him in the lab that he different now. He fast. He know how to run, and he tough. He love this game. And I gave him a sword that he didn't have before. Oh, now that man's become different. And so to me, it is hard to cross-train the muscles you need to go fast while doing football. So I am a witness of how tough football is on the body. Body needs rest from football. Knees, joints need rest from football. It has to develop and it has to grow. I'm tapping on a level of speed that your body ain't never been through before. I'm going to take you somewhere that body ain't been through. When you contrast the two, and you mess with those muscle groups is when you have the injuries. And so that's why I put football down. I don't want to see no 7-on-7. Man, we got time to do that. We're going to get to that. Trust me, we're going to get to that. And when we get there, we're going to be hell to deal with, but we're going to get to that. And so I rely on the training, the mentality, and the things that I know I developed in track and field. So when we hit that football field, you're going to see a different monster. His confidence level, his swagger. Man, I run all day. Man, I seen you give it up. I seen you fake hurt. I seen we got at the 300 mark, you bowed down when I just went right by you because you ain't tougher than me. If you ain't tougher than me on this track, when we get on this football field, what make you think things gonna change? Because I know when I take you to that room of fatigue, when you get tired in the fourth quarter, you gonna quit. I watched you do it. And I'm gonna own you. At some point in this game, I'm gonna own you because you gonna get tired. And I'm gonna bear down on you. And when I bear down on you, you ain't gonna be able to get me off of you. I've seen you, you weak. So now I got you. So when you develop that mentality in that athlete, and all of a sudden he gets on that football field, man, and I'm fast. Oh, you can't run with me. When I get this corner, your angle don't help you with me, man. I'm different. And now when I get 7 or 8 guys on each side of the football, the fastest on the field, you can't beat me no more, man. What you used to own over me, you don't own no more. You may be bigger, but I'll get to that spot before you do. So your size don't matter no more. I've negated your greatest strength. And now I got a skill set you can't deal with. I'm fast, he fast, and he fast. Who you gonna double? You better not be late getting over here in this cover 3 safety because I get this seam, you can't catch me. You got another problem now. So with me having that understanding of it, I understand how important track is. And then for the next 5-6 years of their life, whenever they got to get up underneath that clock, they ain't worried. Man, I used to run for a living. I'm trained to do this. Where you stop, watch that. I can run. You know what I mean? And so and again, you talking to a guy that wanted to quit everything in 9th grade. I dang sure didn't run no track, because I don't like running. And track, all you do is run, man. You want me to run till I'm tired and I'm going to throw up? Wait a minute, to remind that lunch I just say got to come up and my chest is hurting, my stomach hurting, I can't feel my leg. You want me to enjoy that when I can go just play baseball, swing this bat? That's the kid I was. But if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be who I am today. And so I realized how important that was for me. So I won't cheat none of those that are under my watch of the recipe. I know the success. When I send tape out on my guys, I say, where's your high school film? Okay, where's your 100-meter, 110 hurdles, 300 hurdles, your 400, your long jump, and triple jump? We're going to put that up front. Because the first thing they say, I had a coach call me this year and say, Coach Crutch, in the first 30 seconds, if we don't see speed, boom, we go to the next kid. Man, everybody got a guy. If I don't see speed, first 30, don't worry about it. My first 37 is going to be this 10-6. I'm going to captivate you. Now you're going to watch the rest of this highlight tape. So when my guys can run, it presents a whole different challenge, you know. So I understand what these recruiters go through, what that room is like with the scouts when you're at a Division I level, because I've been there. So I know what they're looking for, and I know at the end of the day what you're going to need to play on Saturdays and Sundays. I know that skill set. I know any shuttle run, speed determines quickness. You don't just get quick and you don't have no speed. If I'm faster than you, I'm probably quicker than you. And that's the common denominator. So I think football, for me, and again, it ain't got to be everybody's recipe, it's just Coach Crutch's. I set that ball down when football season's over with. Give me 3-4 months of just straight running, and then I'll come back home, which is football for me, and I'll be ready when I get home.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And now that we're getting into like track and everything.
Hold on, this is tough.
Got you.
And so being patient enough not to force that out of him, to make him call for that. As a dad, now I feel like that's a win that the coach got. Mm-hmm. So I got to be smart with him. And so we didn't time that. We didn't know that was going to happen. It was just what happened. And those are the things that make a difference for him in his life. And so I know he realizes that.
For sure. And like speaking on like the whole track thing, once everything's said and done, everyone gets their invitational.
Yeah.
You guys go to Arcadia.
Yeah.
After all that, you guys go back into football. What do you think of everyone going to, like, literally Centennial's going to Bishop Gorman? We're going to be flying across countries, or across the country to, like, Ohio.
I think with this group, if they're creative enough to put them in winning situations, this group has the potential to be the fastest team in Centennial history. Whether or not they're the best football players is yet to be determined. But I think the recipe is there. I think the coaches, the team, the culture has to galvanize into the oneness that it takes to be a championship football team. I've seen the team over the last 2 years torn in different directions. I think if they can put it together for one common goal, commit to one another, loyal to one another, hold each other accountable, whether or not coach is looking and you cheat a rep, I'm on you because it ain't about coach, it's about us. I think once that mentality is the culture that this group has, I think this group has an opportunity to do it. I think they got a chance to do something special. They got a national championship schedule that if they can find a way to pull this off, they'll definitely be national champions. And so one of the things, my talk with them is this is what we doing for that moment. Because Bishop Gorman's coming. The Monarchs are coming. We won't see them. We won't be ready. You got to start now. It don't start in August, man. It started in November when we start training. So when we see them guys, we ready for them guys. But if you don't prepare yourself, they're going to run right by you and they're going to run through you. How mad you willing to hurt in February to prepare for that moment in October, prepare for that moment in August? How bad you want it? Because he's somewhere training. And he got better facilities than you. They got better equipment. They got better booster club, all that. But when you get between those lines and you see me, I tell them, when you get here, it ain't about none of that. It's what you got here when you get in between these lines. Mama, daddy, money, wealth stand over there. It's now the epitome of that heart that's going to matter. How much have you paid the price to be successful? That would matter. This is what I try to teach them every day in practice now is we getting ready for that moment. We're not getting ready for the Olympics. We're getting ready to win football games. This is the price we got to pay to win football games, though. Because Friday night, I expect this to be the fastest football team in America. And when we look on paper at the end of the day and say, what did they run? What did they run? Ooh, this is different, Centennial. They ain't never had these metrics. Y'all better watch them boys because they're coming. And that's the modus operandi I want to go into this with is I heard about the schedule 2 months ago. And my job is to get them ready for that day and for those days. And so the more and more I can get out, the more and more they're around it, I can see their confidence changing. I can see them embracing this work that they've never done before. One of the coaches said, man, I've never seen so many kids throwing up at practice every day. I said, and this is December, man. This is voluntary. There's 120 kids out here that we ain't even traction. They just come to work. They're volunteering to feel that way. It's a different animal you're dealing with right now. Now, he going to bring his friend. He going to bring his friend. He going to say, man, all of a sudden you got fast. Man, Taj and Corey, they faster this year. What y'all do? Oh, man, it hurt. You're going to throw up. You're going to have abdominal cramps and all that. But it's that medicine, man. If you better get this. And they're starting to fall in the pocket. And so I feel good about it, man. I think, again, Logan has done a great job building a great program. I think he's aware of some of the things that need to change in order to beat and take down some of these giants. And I think they're trying to put that together now with some of the off-season meetings and changes that they plan to put in place. It's just going to be fun to sit back and watch them put this puzzle together to put the best team out there on the field that gives the Huskies a chance to win. And so one thing about it, he's been this way since I was coaching against him, since I recruited. The first thing he told Taj when Taj walked into the office as a freshman, I remember your dad came down in 1999 and 2000, recruited Terry Richardson. He knew the 4 or 5 guys that I recruited when I was at the University of Idaho. He ain't run from nobody then. He ain't running from nobody now. And so that evil empire, he real with that. Once them guys all on the same page with that evil empire mentality, they got a chance to be historic. And again, I wouldn't be me if I didn't expect nothing but greatness. And so I expect these kids to embrace this challenge because I'm watching them embrace this room of terror I'm taking them to every week. You know what I mean? They ain't running from it.
And to the correlation of the whole Centennial Evil Empire thing.
Yep.
You were watching Coach Logan for a while, right? Because you were teaching in Roosevelt, coaching Roosevelt. What has been the consistency that he has had that has kept the longevity of his program literally from the early 2000s to literally 2023?
Yeah, easy one for me. It's his pace. You know, you hear all these crazy stories about Centennial and why they win. First, it would be ignorant not to acknowledge that the kids that come to Centennial come to play football. I've been at places where kids are on campus that make a decision to play football. So first and foremost, you have a different mentality of a kid at Centennial. Those kids come to Centennial to be a Centennial Husky to play football for Matt Logan. That in itself sets precedence of a different level of a high school athlete. Now Matt Logan gets into the laboratory and he finds a way to create an opportunity for these kids to get 10,000 reps before play one. So they've out-repped you, they've outlifted you, they will out-hit you. So now 95% of these public schools can't do nothing with him because his public athlete's a lot different than anything you have because of the mentality that they have. And he's got it in numbers where everyone around here is play fast, play fast, play fast, be violent. And now it's become an epidemic. And these kids have been doing this and getting reps since they were freshmen at Centennial. So his consistency, his demand to do it his way, and I watched him do a lot of this by himself, which is the remarkable piece doing. You don't find many head coaches that are the ones taking role before and after practice, the one that's in the weight room, 70, 80% of the time, doing all the training that he's doing with the kids. He's obsessed with it, and because of his obsession, he's been successful at it. But it takes a great deal to be that obsessed with putting together a calendar. I guarantee you he's already got his calendar in October with every practice, every rep, what time, where the class at, what bus is going to be at. This weight needs to be here, with this here, with this. I walk into the equipment room first year with the jerseys lined up, the hanger is facing this way, and I said, oh, yeah, he got OCD, man. And coaches that way, and I think that has been the element that has kept him consistently at the top. Because there's a certain expectation with him, and there's a certain amount of reps with him, and it's a certain way of doing things with him that's just hard to reproduce on any high school level. He's willing to put in the time. He's willing to do it all by himself if he has to. He's got a great group of coaches around him that just follow his lead, and he's going to do it his way, and he don't care who it bothers. And if you don't want to be here, go somewhere else. Next kid up mentality. And I think, those are the things that is the epitome of being a Husky. I think once you mix in family in that, once you mix in the pride and tradition it takes to develop the loyalty you need, I think this train gonna get off running, man, and they're gonna be pretty successful. And I think they'll be who everyone thinks they can be with this group of kids they have coming through.
For sure. Well, we've talked about like a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Your kids' future,
Yeah.
Centennial football's future. What
Yeah.
about your future? Like, what is the next?
Yeah.
1 to 2 years, because I don't like the whole 5-year thing.
Yeah, I
'cause
got
don't
you.
even know.
No,
where
it's a
I'm
good
gonna be in 5
question.
years.
It's crazy, man, because I get asked that. And I get asked, whether it be at my job at Walmart now, am I going to take a director's position somewhere, or whether I'm going to get back into coaching. I don't know when that time is, and I tell everybody right now I want to stay to let Taj finish high school. With my older two, I did a lot of moving around with coaching that I think took away from their ability to hone in on their skill set. With Taj, I made the conscious decision to let him sit and let him develop and let him have a way without disrupting that by me selfishly making a career choice that would take him away from one of the best high school programs in America. And so I'm gonna let God determine where I go. When the time comes, he usually puts me in a situation where it's undeniable what my answer should be and where I should go. And so I know when Taj is done, somewhere in the next year or two, I'll probably go back into coaching football full-time somewhere at the collegiate level or the National Football League. That's my goal, that's my drive, and I think that's what I'll end up doing. And like I said, if God says, hey, we want you to stay where you at, to take another road, to move the masses. Right now it ain't moving the football, it's moving the energy of people to make them better people, which end up contributing to our society. Because the same thing I demand out of you guys, I demand out of my associates and the people I lead every day. I'm the coach all the time. They call me coach here like they call me on the field, because I coach all day. And so wherever God wants me to go, Luis, I done got to the point now where I don't try to determine it. I just let it happen. Mm-hmm. I pray on it and say, God, use me, and let me know where you need me, and where you need me, send me, and I'm game. And I know how to win in Provo, Utah. in Rochester, Detroit, Michigan, Pasadena, California. You name it, you put me in, give me a group, I'll find a way to win. And so I'm good with that.
For sure. And my final question, it's like very much, like not selfish for me, but it's something that I try to ask a lot of people.
Yeah.
What's like, you're always like so quote worthy, and every single thing that you say is like something that I will literally like open my notes and I'll write down and I'll use for different things.
Yeah.
What's one quote that you have that like stays in your head that is very consistent that you keep on coming back to?
Yeah.
And it's
Easy. That was easy for me. Clyde Turner, one of my track coach at Mirror and my DB coach at Mirror, is the one who took me from a safety at Mirror, put me a linebacker. And one of the things he taught me then, and this quote is a quote that you'll see around my board, because when I go to schools, this is what I tell them. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. And my grandmother, Laura Mae Rester, so always told me, little Tony, you're one of God's favorites. Coach Turner would say, if I put you at corner, could that guy over there whoop you? No, coach, he can't. If I put you at safety, can that guy, if you guys in the alley, could no, coach, he can't. If I put you at Mike linebacker, then what's the difference? Why can't you, I'll put hands on him. So if you that guy, you should be that guy no matter where you at. And so that's how I embrace playing Mike linebacker. And I told him, Coach, I want to get a scholarship. I want to get out of here. I want to go play, either professional football or baseball. You got me running this track, so everything's in football. He would call me Miles. He said, Miles, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. If you won't be great, you'll be great. But don't tell me you want to be great, you ain't willing to pay the price. Because if you believe it, it is up to you to go get it. And so when I go talk at schools, I tell the kids that your dream is one that you own. Life is a canvas, and you are the greatest author in the world because you determine what that picture looks like. If it's meant to be, it is up to me to make that a beautiful painting. That story of my legacy and my life, I own. No one else. If greatness is meant to be, if the legacy is when I walk by, I want them to say, there go that dude, man. Oh, man, that's that guy. I own that, man. I own that every day that I hit the field, that I scan my badge of work, that I show up at Corona Centennial. I'm tired and put in 12 hours of work. But when I get to this gate, them boys counting on me. Them girls counting on me to lead. That legacy is up to me. So when I step over here, no matter what I'm feeling, no matter what I'm going through, no matter what's going on this side of the fence, over here is game time. And I got to come dial it up. If it's meant to be, it's up. If your legacy is important to you, then you own that. So what, you're in Provo, Utah, you're the only black in the class of 300. So what, you don't got the greatest education. So what, you undersized at Mike linebacker as a senior in high school. You can still be Defensive Player of the Year. You can still go to the National Football League. You can still have a dad that's in a penitentiary that they tell you you're going to be just like that, you can still be prosperous with. You can still be that guy. Because if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I own this one. You can't see what I can see. And I ain't mad at you. But you can't dream what I can dream. I feel sad for you, but I'm going over here, man, and you can't stop me. Because I own my life. I own my decisions. I won't be the guy to say, man, if Coach had done this, if he just liked me a little bit. Nah, them are called excuses, man. Football players make football plays. I don't make plays. I ain't gonna make excuses. If it's meant to be, it is up to me. And then whatever it is you want to be in life, you can do it. From Barack Obama to, you name it. We've seen things happen that we'd never think would happen. It all started with a dream. It all started with, I think I want to be president. I think I'm going to be a quarterback in the National Football League. I think I'm going to play second baseman for the Dodgers. It started with somebody's dream. Go get it, because you own it. If it's meant to be, it's up to me.
For sure. That's everything.
Yes, sir. No problem, baby. I appreciate you.
That was really inspirational.
Appreciate you, brother. I love it. Thanks for giving me the chance,
Appreciate it.
man. Appreciate that.
Yeah.